Okay, so this video is going to be a good video to pay attention to. I'm basically going to go through all of the tips and tricks and VS Code shortcuts that I use on my project to be as efficient as I can. There might be some things that I'm not doing properly. I'm still trying to learn, but for the most part, I've managed to figure out a way to be really productive at coding by learning these shortcuts. So let me just kind of walk you through some of these shortcuts and how they came to be. So the first thing I would recommend doing is if you can get good at coding without this sidebar open, you're going to be much better and much more productive at writing code, right? Because that forces you to really remember, like, what are the key files in your application and how can I get to them as fast as possible, right? So for an example, I have a page here. This is the classroom dashboard. It's called the teacher dashboard, I believe. So if I wanted to load up this component, I could go into here and like look at the components and try to figure out what this is. But if you just actually try to commit stuff to memory, all I need to do is just do Command P on Mac and say teacher dashboard. And I'm at the file already, right? So I didn't have to do any like browsing through my tree structure. I didn't have to go to my pages and try to find out where that was. If you just commit stuff to memory, you can find components and pages pretty quick just by using the fuzzy search with Command P. So this is like the most important shortcut. I use this all the time and it really helps me navigate my code base. And when you're in a file, I'm just going to start saying some stuff that really helps me be more productive. So this file has a couple of different methods. We have like a model object, we have a get context method, we have a controller, we got some other stuff here, we return some stuff, we got a view. And let's say for some reason I needed to go to the controller, right? I have the file open, but let's say, the file's like 300, 400 lines of code and I don't want to have to keep scrolling up and down. You can do a Command F and just like search for where this thing was defined. So the Command F and then type in the actual function name and do an equal signs. But as you can see, like you're going to get some false positives, which isn't really useful. So what you could do instead is you can do a Command Shift O, type in the name of the variable that you want to find where it was declared, and that'll take you right to it, right? So Command Shift O is what I'm doing. And you can also achieve this by doing a Command P and putting an @ symbol. So like if I did a Command P @ symbol and type in the name of the variable or function name, that's going to take you directly to that. So you can get really fast at like, oh, I need to switch to my view. Let's go down there. I got to go to my controller. Let's go up there. I need to go to my exports. Well, let me show you another thing. So Command down arrow and Command up arrow, those are really good just to go to the very top of the file. So just get good at that. Get good at being able to go up and down to the top and the bottom of your file. And again, like I use Mac, so you'll have to figure out what commands map to if you're using Windows or Linux. So when I say command, it's the key that looks like, I don't know, has like the command keyword and has a flower. So I don't know what that maps to for other languages, so good luck. But some more refactoring tips. So when you're actually working with code, it's really good, especially in TypeScript, to get some Intellisense help, right? So let's say I was trying to write out this mutation here. And what you can do is you can do a control space, and that's going to load up a command like Intellisense thing, right? So as you're kind of typing out code, and especially TypeScript, if you want to get like suggestions as to what you should type, you can do a command space. And let me just show you that. So in this case, I have 3 mutations I can call. So if I put a single quote here and do a command space, that's going to load up the suggestion modal or popover window or whatever, and I can pick which one I wanted, which I think is called a create assignment. And let's just go ahead and put a curly brace here and fix that code. So command space, or I'm sorry, it's called control space. Really, really useful, especially like if you don't remember like what you need to pass to a method, you could just, new line, control space, and then you get like a suggestion as to what you should pass in. So in this case, command ID. Another thing that I find really, really useful is when you're writing code, let's just go to like the test file real quick. So I'll say teacher test. Notice I don't have the sidebar open, so teacher.test. Here we go. And let's just go to one of these if statements. So sometimes when you're writing code and you have like nested blocks and stuff, let's say I wanted to wrap all of this stuff inside another describe block for some reason. There might be other ways to do this, but I'm gonna show you the way I like to do it. So I can say like describe, and I'll put like some text here, and I'll make an anonymous function like that. So I'm trying to basically put all of these if statements inside of this block. So how do I typically do that? Well, I like using my mouse. And if you get really good and really accurate at the mouse, like you can just go here, scroll down, and then just shift click. Let me make sure I follow my rainbow indents. What am I doing? So follow my rainbow indents, and if I want to put all these if statements inside of it, I would just highlight it, do a command shift, just do a shift click. Let me do that again because I did not explain that well. So click where you want it, scroll down to the bottom, and then shift click it. And let me show you a little trick. You can do option up arrow, and that'll take the entire thing and shove it in that describe. Okay, so I should probably show you that a different way. So let's say you have a line. If you have a line, you want to move it up and down into different parts of your code, you can do an options and just do up arrow or down arrow, right? So I can take that line, I can move it wherever I want. And if you get really good at doing this, like you can start writing some code and just like move stuff around. Let's say this thing had to be in a particular order. Well, I could just move it up there and put a comma. And now I've swapped the order of those things. So get good at that command. I think it's really useful. Obviously, Command Z for undoing and Command Shift Z for redoing. Definitely important to make sure you have mastered. Let me go ahead and just delete that describe I just added. Again, I just did a Command X. Let me show you the Command X. So you might have just saw that. Let me undo. By the way, I didn't prepare for this video. I'm just going off the top of my head. So if I forget a shortcut, leave a comment below and tell me which ones you like to use. So this shortcut I use all the time. This is Command X. So basically, if you just have a line selected, it doesn't matter where your cursor is on that line. If you just Command X, it's going to delete the entire line. So I don't know if you see me coding some, but it's good to like quickly delete lines of code. And then I just save the file and my linter just fixes the file. What you can also do, which I'll show you, is you can option click, I believe. Yeah, so let's say there's multiple lines you want to delete. You can option click, and I could just go ahead and select the lines I want to delete and then Command X, and that'll delete all 4 of those lines I have selected. Notice how I had 4 cursors growing. So super useful, but a more useful situation would be like, click at the start of here. I can unexpand that, and then I could just go ahead and delete those. There you have it. Okay. This is a really great tip where let's say you have a function or name or something and you want to rename it everywhere in your file or in your code base. I don't know if VSCode is smart enough to do the whole code base. I hope it is. But up here we have a variable called mock assignments, and we use it a couple places. I think a better one would be get context. So we have this get context function, and it's used like literally everywhere. Okay, so one thing that you can do is you can do a F2, and that allows you to type in a new variable name for like what you want this to be. So I could call it like get my context, and now that thing is going to be updated everywhere in your code base. Pretty cool. Definitely learned the F2 trick. I want to show you another one that I do for like things that aren't as common in your code. So for example, mock assignments. If you double click on this word, you will see on the right toolbar where it shows up. So I don't know if you all can see that on the right. There's like a little white little box here. That means that it shows up here in my code base. And I think my webcam is hiding where else it might show up. So it's like 3 places, right? So instead of doing the command F2 or control F2 on Mac, I think it's just F2 on Windows. Another thing I like doing is just Command D. So this will multi-highlight the word that you have selected. So if I wanted to get every instance, I'll just Command D. That'll grab the next instance. Command D again. That'll go down here and grab it. And if I don't have too many, you can just Command D and hold, and like that'll get them all. Okay, so now I have everything selected and highlighted. And if I wanted to add a prefix or a suffix, I could just do that. Like I could just simply go to the beginning of the word. So that's options left. And I can say my, and then I can just go over one, delete im. So now I've replaced that everywhere in my code base, I believe. And let's double check I don't have any issues. Okay, so that's another cool way you can do it. Get good at using like option left and right. That's how you can go to the top, the beginning and the end of a word. So you can kind of scan through lines pretty quick by doing that. And again, like you can highlight everything, go to the beginning, and I just want to name it back to mock assignments. Maybe F2 is probably easier if you want to do that. But yeah, what else can I kind of show you? So here is another interesting. Sometimes you want to grep your entire project. So Command Shift, what I do is I usually copy a word or something. I want to see like what is actually calling this method. How many places is this thing called? And I'll do a Command Shift F and bring up my project search. And that'll tell me every place it does a create assignments. Now, sometimes I'll do a parenthesis at the end of it, and now I know exactly what's calling it. So it looks like there's only like 1 or 2 places. There's the dashboard that calls it here, and then there's my modal that calls it here. There's also another way you can do it. Right click on it and say go to I think it's references maybe. I think this is how you can also do it. I don't really do that much. I don't like this little thing that pops up. I find this really distracting. So I try to find other ways to not get this little, I don't know, preview thing to pop up. It's kind of annoying in my opinion. But I think there's also ways to figure out where it's being used. Find all references. So you could do a Shift Options F12. I feel like the F12 is so like out of reach, and I have to press so many keys to get this one going. So it's kind of annoying. But if you can kind of do that, again, that's going to grab you every reference that's using it, like this. So you can do that as well. But again, I just like using the full like project search. So like if I want to find something, such as create assignment, I'll just search the entire project with a parenthesis, and there I can find it's used here, and it's also used here. And because I know how the way my linter and my lint rules work, these parentheses are always going to be on the right line, right? There's never a case where this is like down here for some reason. So that is a good like convention. I'm trying to figure out what else can I show you. So sometimes when you're coding, you want to know, you want to dive into code, right? So for example, if I go to like the teacher dashboard, or I think it's called like classroom. Here we go. So again, like Command P for the fuzzy search, I could do pages/classroom, takes me right to the file. Oh, I forgot to mention. So sometimes you have like a bunch of files loaded up. You could do Command W to close any of the open tabs. Really useful. So let's say you're at a top level page or a route in Next, right? So how do I actually go into where teacher dashboard is? Well, you could just simply, I think you can F12, and that'll take you to where it's defined. Or you could just command click it, right? Command click it takes you right to it. You can also go to definition like this if you want to do a right click, but save yourself a step and just learn the command click, and that takes you right to when to go. And this is, again, really useful. So if I know that I want to go to the teacher dashboard, and then I want to find the view, and then I want to find maybe the modal down here, you can do that. So get really good at like command clicking into stuff. And if you get really good at it, there's another thing you need to learn, which is Command W. So you're kind of diving into your code base and you want to dive back out. So you just Command W, Command W, Command W, you're back to where you started. So it's really good to like get good at navigating your code base like that, and like diving deeper into your code, and then like going back up a level and just remembering the context of like the stack that you've kind of gone down. So Command F is also like your best friend in your code bases. Command F you can use to find like certain instances. Like for example, let's say you know you want to find something called create, and you have a really big file like this. Well, Command F it, and that takes you right to it. And just put some special characters in front of it. Like if you know it's a component called something like modal, or I don't know. I guess we have assignment card here. You know what I'm saying? Like just Command F and make sure you always try to search for the thing that's going to take you right to it. And you don't have to be super accurate. Like if you know it's called like card, like there's only 3 instances of card in here. So just Command F and just keep hitting enter until you kind of get to where you want to go. And the better you get at guessing and remembering like what are some keywords you're looking for, the faster you can kind of get around. All right, so especially when you're working with code and you have like errors happening, like if I were to delete this and save the file, I believe I'll get an error somewhere, maybe? I don't know. But sometimes you get errors in your console, like, and you have to kind of go to the line that it told you. So what I would do is do a Control G, and then you can type in the line number you want to go to. So if you know down in the console said like there's an error at line 15, I could just go Control G 15 enter, right? So super useful with your running tests. Controller test. I'll go ahead and just run a test real quick so I can show that. npx jest run that test. And another shortcut I'll show is I right clicked on this and I did Shift Options Command C. This is super useful when you're doing tests because like you have to copy the full path to the test. So you can kind of copy whatever you want like this. One hand, just select it all. npx jest, I got the full path to the test, and then it runs it. So get really good at that, and you can kind of like run a test real quick. And then when you're in the test, like let's say you want to make it crash. Okay, so I'll make this crash real quick. Notice here it gives me the file and the line number. Obviously, I could just command click this, and that'll take me right to where that is. But for some reason, let's say I just, I can't command click, or I just don't want to. I'm already in that file, so like what I would do is I would just, like I said, Control G 76. Okay. And if you get really good at that, like it takes you like half a second to get wherever you want to go. Because sometimes you'll be reading like stack traces that don't have this in it. Like I could kind of show you that real quick. Let's say we had an endpoint. Let's see what this code base is doing. I'll click create assignment. And okay, yeah, let's go to my TRPC endpoint real quick. So again, Command P router, and I'm going to say classroom router. I'm there. And then I want to find where I'm looking for. So I'm going to say create assignment, which we're here right off the bat. And I want to just go ahead and throw an error here. So I'll just say like console.trace. Actually, I won't even throw an error. I'll just do a trace. So now when I create an assignment, click create, I should get a trace that printed out, and we get some line numbers. So again, like I could command click these, I believe. Here we go. It's kind of cryptic, but I can't command click this one. Oh, I can. But it takes me to line 70 for some reason. So this is kind of a bad example because TypeScript and JavaScript and Next just completely jacks up your line numbers, and that is what we deal with when we deal with web development and JavaScript development because it's kind of garbage. I'll be honest with you, these line numbers, like, let me just not complain about JavaScript and TypeScript, but it just sucks. Work with Java. It's going to tell you the exact line that it failed at, and you can dive into it versus like using React. It's like using Babel. Everything's all messed up. And your front end it gives you a line number. You click it. It takes you to a like minified code base that has like thousands of lines. It's just, anyway, I'm trying to figure out what other things would I want to share with you all to make you more proficient at coding. Again, like get really good at your trackpad. I use a Mac and I always work on a laptop. So the way I set up my project is I have my VS Code editor here on the left workspace. So if I swipe left, it takes me to my project. And if I ever use something else like Postman, I keep it at the far right. So I have my browser, and then I have my center as my editor. On the right is like my utilities, okay? And get really good at switching between those two things so you can quickly see your changes. That's kind of how I became really efficient. Also in Mac, there's a way to turn off the animation. Like I don't want that slow transition. I just turn that off so it just like quickly goes over. Another cool thing that when I'm coding, let's say there's a button that says create assignment, I'll just copy the text of the button, which for some reason I can't even do that. Kind of weird. So I'll just copy the text like this, search the entire project and find out where it's used. So this is the button. This is how I can get to a button really quick from the UI. Usually a UI or a page will have more content, more text and like titles and stuff. So you can just like copy what you want, copy it, go over here, paste it in, and it'll take you directly to the file or files that have that reference. And typically you get a good match. Sometimes if you're something generic like create, you might get like thousands of matches. You can kind of take that further by just only finding JSX files or TSX files if you want, which I think you got to do. Oh wait, am I in the right thing? Oh, that's a replace. Click these three little things. I don't know why this is hidden. Like this should always be declared. Just go ahead and search like the TypeScript files if you need to like hone in quicker onto like what you're trying to find. That's a cool little tip and trick. At this point, I'm not really sure what else to show. I mean, like Command N for making a new file. Sometimes I need like a scratch pad where like I'll have some code and I just want to copy it, paste it somewhere so I have a scratch pad. And then I go over to the left terminal. I believe there's a way to actually like switch your tabs via shortcuts. I don't remember off the top of my head what that is. We could try to figure that out. Highlight command slash to indent to comment stuff out, and command slash to recomment it. Definitely useful to know. Let's see if I can figure out how to go left and right on the tabs. I know I've done this before. Here we go. So command shift and then brackets, right? So let me just do that again to show like if you get really good at your stuff, which is obviously I'm not really using this one that much. Let's say you wanted to take some code, scratch pad it. So I'll just copy the code, Command N, and I'll go back to the tab I was just at, right? So now I have like this scratch pad of code that I can do whatever I want with and play around and go back to the other code just by quickly going brackets over. So get good at navigating your terminals, or not your terminals, your tabs by using Command Shift, left bracket, right bracket, and you'll get good at like, switching your code base. I like to make sure you delete tabs. Like when you're done with the tab, just delete it. You have too many tabs open, it just becomes too hard to like know what you're doing and like you just get overwhelmed. So if you have like 1, 2, or 3 tabs max open at all times, I think you're going to be more efficient at like getting stuff done. At least for me, I just get overwhelmed if I have like 1,000 tabs open. Now for the terminal, Command K is how you clear the terminal. This is definitely useful. I use it all the time. So like you saw it in the test file, like I'll just go ahead and open up a test file like this, copy the location. I'll go to my terminal, npx jest, and notice how I cleared the terminal before I ran the command. This just gives me a clean slate so that I don't have all this like nasty history I have to scroll back through. And also like once you run your stuff, you can actually Command F and search through your terminal for like whatever you want. So that'll take me to the keywords. So this is useful if you ever need to search through your terminal output or your console logs to find something specific. I don't know the shortcuts for making new terminals. I honestly just click the buttons if I need one, or just click to delete. Like those are like things you don't do that often, so I don't think you really need to memorize the shortcuts for those. Problems. This is a tab that I sometimes neglect, but in TypeScript, one thing I noticed is that when you refactor stuff, let me make sure I have no problems, and let me show you. If I were to refactor something, like let's go to the MVC wrapper, and I'm going to go ahead and change this to controllers with the Z. Notice that we get some problems in our code base, and it's good to be able to kind of like jump around your different files and know like what is calling this incorrectly, right? So this thing needs to be controllers with the Z, and then go over here. This thing needs to be defined probably somewhere else, I guess here. And now when I say that, I get a bunch of more problems. So like now I can dive through my code base and find like, where did I screw this up? It's good to like have this problems thing open, especially if you're dealing with TypeScript, because sometimes, actually this one could be controller, I believe. Anyway, you get the point. I did have to set something up in my configuration to be able to do this. I forget what it's called, so let me just go ahead and go over here. I think there's like a TypeScript experimental thing, which will run through your entire project and try to like find these errors as they happen, because if you don't have this set, like stuff won't actually show you errors until you build your application, and like you keep on rebuilding and rebuilding and rebuilding and having to fix new issues. And you might have seen that with TypeScript, where like you'll make a change, and the only time like TypeScript will complain is if you go and open those files like manually, right? So there might be thousands of files in your code base, but VS Code isn't smart enough to know what you broke unless you go and open the file. Kind of sucks. Like other IDEs like IntelliJ like will tell you exactly what you broke when you change stuff. I don't know why I have to turn on an experimental flag to like get that taken care of, but I guess that's kind of besides the point. So again, Command B is how you can get that terminal open and close real quick. Make sure you kind of memorize that. Command Options T is how you close all of the other tabs. So if you have like a ton of tabs open, but you just want to focus on this one, Command Options T will close every other tab. You could also right click on this and say like close others. Kind of useful. Control tilde is how you open up this real quick. So if you get good at that, you can just quickly, jump through tabs and do what you need to do, and then close them back when you're done. I'm trying to think if there's any other big shortcuts I do. I'm really a big fan of copying code. So like if I'm in a file somewhere, I'm really, like double clicking on something, copying it, and then like pasting that somewhere into my fuzzy search, right? So you can command click it, but sometimes command clicking like doesn't take you to the right file. So I've kind of gotten to the habit of just like naming every single file to match the exact same thing that it outputs, right? So create assignment modal as a file name, and I also have a component called that. So I can just copy this and just go straight to it. If I don't want to command click it for some reason, I'm not sure why you wouldn't command click it, but it feels more fun just to type a bunch of random stuff. Yeah, I'm trying to see what else do I do. Control space is definitely a lifesaver. Like I know I talked about it, but when you're typing some stuff and this thing doesn't pop up, control space. That's how you get that thing popped up. But yeah, join my Discord if you want to ask me direct questions or talk to anyone in my community questions. That's I think all I wanted to talk about. I'm sure I missed some shortcuts maybe. I don't think I did, but I think I covered most of the ones I use. So if you thought this was useful, let me know. Have a good day and happy coding.